Hello! I have decided to do a video because I've become quite passionate about something that I want to share with you guys. A lot of you know that the past 15 years for me have had lots of ups and downs with my health, and that I have a number of success stories in that regard, and I'm going to share about one of them, namely CBD oils. It's kind of a hot commodity at the moment. Wasn't the cannabis plant illegal? Can we get high from CBD? It's illegal to smoke weed. Is it the devil's lettuce? Is it dangerous? So what is it? So, oh, hi. I know, here she is. Oh, God. What is the cannabis plant? Cannabis, hemp, marijuana, 3 words that are all the exact same thing. It's all the same plant. There's no difference between them. What is legal in the United States is the male plant, industrial hemp. The male plant does not have the budding that people like to smoke to get high. The female plant has the budding. So CBD comes from the male plant. It is extracted from the stalk of the male plant. And hemp is used for all kinds of industrial things, all kinds of rope and cloth and paper and all this stuff. But there are 2 main components that we extract from the hemp plant. There's CBD and then there's THC. THC is the psychoactive component that gets you high. There are a lot of medicinal benefits to THC, but that's a different conversation. That's not the conversation that I'd like to have today. CBD. What is it? There's 2 different kinds of oils. One oil is extracted from the seed. Like, we have hemp oil sold in grocery stores. We have sunflower seed oil. We have rapeseed oil. All of these oils that you see in the grocery store, those are all extracted from the seeds. Then what we have is essential oils. So there's lavender oil, there's lemon that people like to use for scents, for relaxation. CBD oil is the essential oil of the cannabis plant. The way it's extracted is by using a solvent, like either alcohol, naphtha, benzene, or carbon dioxide. You munch the plant together, you run the solvent through it, take the solvent out of it, and what's left is the essential oil. It is completely legal. Preface before going on. Nobody is claiming that it can cure you. It can't fix anything. It aids the body's already existing processes of trying to heal and fight inflammation. It works on the functional level. We don't say that it can get to the root of anything. It just helps to calm everything down. It's kind of like eating a healthy diet, like, exercise. It helps your body heal itself. Our bodies are constantly working and going through all these different processes to heal and to rest and to have more energy. And there are things that happen either that we do consciously or unconsciously, or toxins or health conditions or things come up that inhibit those processes. And CBD is an extraordinarily beneficial aid to this. Typically, the studies are done with people with chronic illnesses and chronic condition. And what we find with chronic conditions is what's called leaky gut. And leaky gut is when the permeability of the intestinal wall allows undigested proteins to pass through the barrier. Where usually we have free-form amino acids passing through the barrier. Now we have these polypeptides that are not fully broken down passing through, and then the immune system goes and attacks them because it views it as a threat. Depending on the shape of the bits floating about, you may have different types of inflammation in different parts of your body. Pain, redness, swelling, heat, sleep problems are caused by inflammatory conditions, psych issues, anxiety, depression, autoimmune conditions, fibromyalgia, Hashimoto's, Sjogren's, scleroderma, arthritis, etc. Neurological issues, spasmodic conditions like epilepsy, degenerative conditions. These are all things that are chronic, that are caused by inflammation and caused by too many signals firing off. So how does CBD help? We actually have cannabinoid receptors in our body. Cannabinoid. I really don't know if this is a perfect analogy or not. It's kind of like melatonin. We have receptors for melatonin, but if we're having trouble sleeping one night, we may give ourselves a little extra melatonin in the form of a capsule to aid the body's already existing process of trying to get us to rest and fall asleep. So CBD is similar in that regard. But what CBD does is it takes the body's immune system away from attacking itself so that the body can heal itself. CBD it's a signaling molecule. It works with the signals firing off, and it works at the cellular level. A couple examples. Anxiety. We have the parasympathetic nervous system, which is dealing with relaxation, digestion, repairing. The sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight or flight response. So when we're having anxiety, we're having an overactive sympathetic nervous system. And so we have all these signals going off. If ever you've dealt with anxiety, you know it's just like... And what CBD does is it takes all those signals and basically says, shh. A friend of mine had the vape pen and I was having a stressful day. She was like, hey, try it out. I took one puff of it, and within a minute or two, I noticed it. Shh. I noticed immediately my head was clearer. I felt more straight, more sober. I wasn't even intoxicated in any way. I had not had a drink, I had not had anything. Just felt clearer and calmer. Another example, spasmodic conditions like seizures. Those are misfirings. Those are signaling problems. So CBD works to, because it's a signaling molecule, shut the signals down a little bit. I consistently heard many stories of children going from having 100 seizures a day to having no seizures within just a few days of taking CBD oil. All right, so great. So thank you very much for your information. Sounds like a wonderful medicine. Why is there so much controversy about it then? So let's start from the beginning. The cannabis plant has been around since the dawn of agriculture. It has been found in every materia medica, including the U.S. Pharmacopoeia. I'm gonna go with that. Speech, words, talking things. Our book of medicines that we use. It was the second and third most commonly used medicine in the world until the 21st century. The earliest writing about cannabis was in China 3,000 years ago. It was used for industrial purposes as well as medicinal purposes of all kinds. Then it spread to India, and then fast forward to when the British were occupying India. This brought it back to England, where Queen Victoria was using it to give her some relief from her menstrual cramps. And we all know that the British were trying to take over the world at the time, right? So voila, introduce cannabis plant to all of the Western world. 100 years ago, farms in America were legally required to grow hemp. It was such an important part of our life. People were smoking marijuana for recreational purposes. People were using it for medicinal purposes. There was no restrictions. So what happened? There were these two fellas. I'm gonna really mess this guy's name up. Lemont DuPont. DuPont. Let's just call him DuPont, right? So he sold rayon, which is the first man-made fiber. This was during the 30s. And he invented nylon, which, by the way, is a competitor to hemp. His buddy, Hearst, Mr. Hearst, owned a bunch of newspapers, another competitor to hemp. They also happened to be really, really, really good friends with, guess who? The commissioner of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, Harry Anslinger. But Harry Anslinger was very vocal about how much he hated racial minorities. They went to him, said, hey, outlaw hemp. First, there was a tax put on it in 1937, and then in 1942, it was outlawed. What he ended up doing was saying, that hemp is the drug of the minorities, and that they're all criminals, they're all criminals, they're all criminals. Where have I heard that before? So yeah, basically he said they're all criminals, and marijuana makes them violent, marijuana makes them all crazy, and it causes mood disorders, and it causes, horrible tendencies and turns you into a violent person. None of this has ever been supported by any type of research. Are you finished? And so every single decade, for the past few decades, there have been more and more studies done that show that marijuana is harmless. Now let's get into present day. How do you know where to go for the CBD oil? How do you know who to trust? It's such a hot thing now. You see foods with CBD infused in it all the time. You see all these different creams and oils, and how do you know who to trust? How do you know where to go to? And that was my big question, is how do I know? So when I took a puff of that vape, I realized it worked. So I went to this company, Superbals, and then I found out Superbals is local to me. I know one of the guys that runs it, you know, like it's people here on Staten Island where I live, people that are in my community. That I can go hang out with. I can see what they're doing with their product. I can see what they're doing with their lives. So I looked more into it. I started talking to Greg Prosker. Greg Prosker is one of the 3 people that runs Superbowls. He is a local energy healer. He works with Reiki and Diksha and sound healing. They bottle it. They label it all themselves. He does a lot of energy work with the oil to kind of create a more sacred experience with it. And whether you really buy into Reiki or Diksha or a type of healing modality, the point I'm trying to make is that there's love put into this, and that it's not just a business to them. Obviously it is a business and they want to make money, but they're not millionaires, right? So Lee and Lana, the other 2, they're both teachers. They both teach children with special needs. They created programs to help kids get jobs. You know, they have 2 kids of their own, and this is one of the main reasons they got into the business, is because they wanted to provide help to people who might need it. The oil comes from a farmer that they know personally from Oregon, not some faraway country or anything. And he himself also sages and sweetgrasses his fields. He does gratitude ceremonies over his fields. A lot of energy work, a lot of energetic healing work put into the process for the Superbowls product. The solvent that is used for Superbowls oil is an all-alcohol solvent, and they also use sunflower lecithin to coat it to prevent it from breaking down. So there is some information about Superbowls. We have a variety of different products. There's a salve, there's the oil, there's different, there's a roll-on, there's a vape pen. I actually have my oil right here, and my roll-on that I use on my skin because my skin takes forever to heal. And I've noticed that since I started using Superbowls that my skin's healing a little quick. I use the oil, I put it under my tongue once or twice a day, usually twice a day, in the morning when I wake up and right before bed. I've noticed significantly more clarity in my thinking. It just kind of goes like this. I also have a chronic inflammatory condition. I have a chronic and recurrent pericarditis. And I do notice, especially now that it's winter time, and that's when it gets triggered a little bit more. I've noticed that since using the oil, it's not triggered near as much. I am now a part of the Superbowls community, and I was so excited to find out that they were local people to me in my community that I decided to be a part of this. So if you do want to purchase a Superbowls product, you can ask me any questions. I have a discount code, GROVE15, GROVE15. You'll get 15% off your order. You know, that's all I got right now. But yeah, so that's what I got. I don't know how to end it.